for joining us today. One of the things that is continually thrown in my face as I keep getting younger, we all are getting younger, by the way, is that if you are younger than 70, you should be learning something. And to that end, the fall round of programs from the Wyndham Regional Career Center are back again. Bessie Gentili to my left is the Adult Service Coordinator. And to my right, Chef Roberto Gutierrez. Thank you for joining us. I can't wait to talk food with you, and I know that I'll probably gain 10 pounds just in the conversation. Betsy, number of great courses as always, but there are a couple of highlights this year.
Yeah, well, we've started our courses last week and have really good enrollments for our computer courses, which is great. And we have a button-up workshop coming up on November 6th, Saturday, November 6th, free and open to the public from 9 until 11 on Saturday. And it's Robert Rudier from Thermal House is going to be running that. And it's a great workshop to learn how to button up your house for the winter.
Did you say it's free?
It's free, open to the public, no registration required. And then we have our perennial favorite is our adult ADHD course taught by Sue Venman. And she's a coach for adults that are dealing with attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Maybe I should take the course. I don't know. Anyway.
We'll take it together. How's that?
But she's an amazing coach. And if you have any sense that you might have ADHD, this is a great course for you. It's going to be on Wednesday, November 3rd. It's a 3-hour course from 6 until 9 o'clock.
We all are struck with different deadlines, many of them at once. Any clue about where that falls into this course?
People should register soon. It's filling up, and it starts next week. So they should either go to the website, www.rccvt.com. There's a lot of W's.
Yeah, it is.
Or call me at 451-3965.
No W's in the phone number.
No W's. But I'll tell them all about how to register, and the course is coming up in the spring. We've got another whole round in the spring starting in February, so I can put people on our mailing list and get them the information at the beginning of the year.
Now, one of the real stars of this fall's round of courses is this course, The World of Food. Before we start talking with Chef Roberto, how did you come up with this?
Well, Chef came to me and said, I'd love to teach this course on the world of food. And it was a dual course at one point. It was about hospitality as well as learning about food in all of its manifestations. So we honed it down to learning about food in all of its manifestations. And it goes, well, Roberto can talk about it, but it starts with some very basic, even hands-on creations of Italian food, all the way to sustainability of the food sources and cheese makers and looking at globalization of food. It's a very amazing course. I'm really excited about it.
So it's a safe bet that we're not talking about pork rinds and draft beer.
That would be some part of the menu, but not my focus.
You know, a lot of people say that they eat to live, others live to eat. Now, where does your course fall in that matrix?
Let's see. Well, I think I'm mostly living to eat.
You and I are going to get along just great.
I know that in my experiences in Italy, for instance, because I lived there, worked there, I went to school part of the time there, and part of the whole Italian experience when it comes to food is that everyone is on a feeding schedule. So that the entire day, everything, whenever I go to Italy, I lose weight.
I need you to talk to my wife about it.
But you basically, the life is organized around meals. And so from the time that you might go to an espresso bar, and Italians probably get an espresso about 6 times a day. And they just, pop in, get a shot, and then go and do something else. And so it's part of the ritual of the day. The day is organized around food and conversation and it's just knowing about all of the food, the wine, the pasta, the vegetables, the animals, the cheese, everything. So it's a source of discussion and the way of life, which I love.
What goes together? I mean, what do you start off with looking at something simple for the
course?
The student?
Well, I think that one of the things is, in this course, I try to have real information that people could take, and then also have practical steps that maybe they could use to enter into a work situation. And then to have it organized almost like a science class, so that the lab would be the cooking class part, so that you could learn about the role of pasta and food and dairy and farmers and everything else. But if you make ricotta cheese in your own kitchen from whey and just stir it, basically it's done over heat. So you just to see the magic of the process, and that you're hands-on. It's a hands-on thing, which I think a great learning experience from Montessori.
I didn't realize you could make ricotta cheese out of whey.
Yeah, yeah. Whey. Ah, okay.
Way.
Yes.
Way.
There is a way. Okay. So you start off with some of these simple ingredients and make the combinations come together, and the possibilities are endless.
Right. So let's say you make, if you wanted to have a pasta a dinner, and you wanted to have some tomato sauce, or tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, and basil from the garden, or garlic, you could also add ricotta cheese to it, and it's a richer, creamier dinner. So you could make that. You could make that in a class. So, for instance, if you get whey, W-H-E-Y, and I used to get whey from David Major, who has a lot of sheep, and sometimes I'd get a few big pots of whey and then bring it home.
Now that's the liquid that is the leftover from the cheese making process.
Yeah, yeah. And then what you do is just heat it to a certain temperature. Stir it, don't let it burn, and then after a while you take it off the heat, and then it just coagulates. And that's it. Now you could do it with whole milk also, raw milk.
Has to be raw.
Yeah, it's easier that way.
Yeah.
And then with the whey, if you want to have it richer, creamier, you just maybe add some whole milk or cream to it, and that's it. And it's very fast. You could do it yourself at home.
Wow. So you try to use some of the ingredients that are right around us?
Of course, yeah. And I think, when I teach courses, I used to teach in New York at the New York City College of Technology, which had a hospitality management department. The students, most of them from cities, they just didn't know where cheese came from. So at that point, I was actually working with a Connecticut farm, selling cheese for them at the farmers markets, and also helping make cheese. And I brought a farmer in, and she took care. Her son made the cheese, and she took care of the cows. And what they did was the students met a real star of our world, which is a farmer for me. They're incredible stars. So she basically told them how you get cheese. And traditionally you could hear of a lot of kids who don't even know where milk comes from. And it's harder in Vermont because there are just too many cows around. But there are people who don't know exactly. They go to the supermarket, Shaw's or something, and they say, oh, that's where you get the milk. But to see the whole thing and to see the whole process is a great education. And it'll help you practically.
We've been involved in a bit of a renaissance. I can remember my own high school upbringings as one of the few FFA members in high school who had actually milked a cow at that time.
Right.
People just did not understand the whole process. Now you've got a farmer's market almost on every doorstep. There's a lot more involvement, but still people don't know what to do with it once they bring it home.
Exactly. Well, even, you know, going back to Italy, when I go back, I know that people very often there don't cook as much. They're not cooking as much. They don't know how. There's a lot of prepared foods, and then you don't know how to select food, like that good fruit or vegetable. You don't know which one, and so you need your great-grandmother to come with you to help you choose. You touch it that way, not this way. It looks this way. Smell it. Smell the melon. All of this, but those skills are even disappearing everywhere. So we have to have another hit, a renaissance again for food.
A local war.
Yeah, and the whole. You're totally right. We have a lot of farmers markets, but people just get this stuff and they don't know what to do with it. They ruin it. So.
Yeah, and really to not cook kohlrabi correctly is a crime.
That's exactly. Well, another part of my food experience was that I had a cafe. I had a cafe for 6 years. It was called Roberto Cappuccino Cafe, and it was based on an Italian cafe. And later on, it became a little French because I had a crepe station there. But so I went to France, to Brittany, and I studied how to make the galettes, which are the savory crepes, not the sweet or dessert ones. But in terms of the coffee, going back to that, the espresso was just the coffee world is another world. Every food is another world. So you have the Italians would come in, because I lived in New York, Brooklyn, and people would come in. They were from Italy, and they knew what an espresso was. So if you gave them anything else, they would say, do it again, or I don't want that. So many people don't know that, but so it's that whole food literacy. That would be part of my course.
I wonder what they would do with those plastic single brew cups.
Well, yeah, it's you see. Unfortunately, you do see those in Italy. Not to, and I remember when I was teaching in New York, there were Korean students who would tell me that they were shocked that people were eating food while they were walking down the street, or when they were sitting in the subway. So someone might have been in a subway car and they had a box of fried chicken with them and eating that while they were there, and they felt so badly for them that they didn't have any home. Oh. And they had to be eating in the street. So that whole street eating was amazing. I remember once when I closed my cafe, at the end of the day, there was some coffee left in one of these thermoses. So I filled up a cup and I put a lid on it, and I walked out with it. And I realized I had never drunk coffee to go. I had always sat down with it. So mine was considered a kind of fanatical trip into some past universe, because my food sense was so in the past in that way. So, but I did have to-go lids.
We are in a society where a lot of us are on the go. You've got to be 3 places at once.
Yeah.
Sometimes a family meal is catch as catch can.
Yeah.
How do you change that culture by sitting and preparing what would be just an incredible meal right from the material around you?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that what you have to do is recognize the realities of your life. And you can't be a food fascist in that way. You must sit down, you must do this, all of it. But I think that if you do have rituals, some rituals, then it'll help you. So, for instance, if you don't have the family meal every single day, there's 7 days a week. So, if maybe you could try to get a few in that week and sit down and maybe don't have television on when you're eating and shut the phone off.
Turn off the internet.
Yeah, exactly. And stop surfing while you're spooning your soup. But it's difficult because there was this one a Sicilian guy who came to my cafe, and he was noticing that people were coming in, and he would sit there almost observing. He hated traffic too. He hated cars. Because I was on the street, there were cars going by, and he hated the cars because he said they're destroying the world. And I had to agree. They're pretty negative, and I'm driving more in Vermont than ever. But at any rate, he saw that this whole process of people buying food, eating their bagel, cream cheese, having the coffee to go, telephone. And so one day he came in, he had designed an apparatus that people would wear, and it was a toilet, so that they could walk on the street, they could talk, they could eat, they could read, and then this whole mechanism would have a flushing system and everything. So this was his take. It was kind of a joke,
Yeah.
but
It was, yeah,
he
but that's all
designed the
that's
whole
missing.
thing. He was an amazing artist. He died a few years ago, but I went to his old house, and he was a prolific artist, sculptor, painter, amazing.
What's your favorite food and why?
I'd say bread.
Really?
Bread is probably the center of my universe. And of course, there's other things, but if you had to choose one, bread would be really difficult for me to not have in my life. And I bake at least twice a week. I bake my own bread. And right now there's dough rising in my kitchen.
Is it always Italian or French bread, white, wheat, or what?
Well, I like, I know Jeffrey Hamelman a little bit. And,
Yes, Jeffrey was a tremendous baker.
We still miss him.
I don't know if people know this, but he won the prize to make the best baguette in the world in France. He went there. They have this kind of the World Cup of baguettes.
Wow. How long ago was that?
This was a few years ago.
Oh.
But this was after he closed his bakery here. And right now he's the chief baker at King Arthur Flour. And
nice.
He's an amazing. The Japanese have these people called treasures, national treasures. He's probably a treasure for the United States. But he made the best baguette in the world.
Wow.
Years ago there was.
And we used to have them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that people were crying when his
You
bakery.
could smell it all over town too. It was
Justifiably
wonderful.
so.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's so bread probably occupies that place.
What makes bread so important for you?
Well, it's bread is delicious. I mean, it can be delicious, and it is just it's part of the whole food system for me. We had the sandwich, of course. You need bread and soup, bread and wine, bread and cheese. So cheese is in there too, and so is wine. Water I love as
yes.
well.
So it sounds like no one could be around you for more than 5 seconds and not learn a whole new world.
Yep.
Well, yeah, they could say, well, that's definitely not part of my world as I know it, but yeah, it's fun, I'd say. Yeah.
So what do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh no. Mainly what I'm interested in doing is continuing to learn and teach and cook and, communicate. I just yesterday I had an email from Italy. And when I was there, I had a grant from the European Union and the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I was the only American to get a grant to study for a master's in Basilicata, which is a place south of Naples. And it's in the central part. It's a mountainous part, central. And I was there, and it was cold. There was an earthquake. It was snowing, and it was south, too. Interesting. But there, I was given a grant by the winemakers to see how that whole element of the whole culture came together, and it related to agritourism. So,
We are looking at agritourism in Vermont, especially as a way to do a little bit more with our farms and with our produce, but it takes a bit of a change of thinking on the part of some.
Definitely.
How important is it to embrace agritourism?
It's critical. It's critical now. Let's say there were a really well-organized, well-thought-out, passionate network in Vermont that involved agritourism. Vermont could be in a better shape economically. I mean, right now, tourism is a big part of the economy anyway. And so what you have to do is, and it's being done, there's with the Vermont Cheese Council, there's a cheese trail. You can go from cheesemaker to cheesemaker. And I do that. I bring people around to cheese making places. And there has to be follow through too. So, for instance, I know that in Italy they had, it's like the promised land of food and wine, but many of the places that you might go to there was no one there at the in the vineyard when you dropped by. So you have to have a way of being in a relationship with the public, and a good one too. So if you call a farm, you'll get a farmer who's been up since 4 o'clock in the morning, and this may not be the most polished, representative of agriculture, but so they have to add a different layer of their relationship to the world. And once you organize it, then you have, let's say you have a cheese house or a sugaring house here, then, or the orchards, Green Mountain Orchard or Allison's Orchards, they really have it organized. So that way they can also make money. So it's, I think it's important. I was mentioning before that when I came back from Italy, I made an appointment with Bruce Hyde, who is in the marketing of tourism in Vermont, and I briefed him on what was happening in tourism, and then he said, "Oh, why don't you become a Vermont ambassador?" So I didn't know what to say about that because I thought it was a joke. But there is something called a Vermont ambassador, and then I took this one-day course, and I became one. So you're talking to an ambassador.
Well, I can't think that people would not be honored to just follow you around for a day and see it through your eyes. And this is why this course is going to be so well attracted.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
And I think Chef also has courses that he teaches in his home,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Cooking classes.
Yeah, and it's also, I recently did a pizza one. So classic
Really?
pizza. And I have a broken oven, which I got for nothing. And the thermostat is broken, and it goes to 600 degrees. So a classic pizza oven, well, would go to 1,000 degrees, and the pizza is done in 30 seconds. So it's, but you know, mine takes a little, longer, but it's not the usual 500 degree oven, or 525, 550 maybe if you could, push it. But mine is 600, and I have a stone in there. So it's, so we did a classic pizza class, and so what you do is you make your own dough from scratch, and then like a TV show, you'd have something already made. You'd have I have risen dough, and maybe dough that's been formed in those little mounds that you might see in a pizza shop, and then you just
And you make your own sauce?
Well, the thing is, the classic sauce comes right out of a can. You don't have to cook any pizza sauce. Huh. So if you go to a pizza shop, a pizza parlor, they don't have a big pot on the stove usually with sauce. They open cans and they put that right on. And a lot of people didn't know that, but it's just... So the cans of tomatoes that I use are San Marzano tomatoes. They're from Italy. They're peeled plum tomatoes. And that's the kind of classic area for tomatoes, and you use those and crush those, put them on the pizza.
Yum.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So, again, the world of food. Sounds like a great course. I've probably already gotten the refresher already. In case people want to find out more, Betsy, how can they do that?
Go to www.wrccvt.com, and that'll show you all the courses and registration forms, or call me at 451-3965, and I'll send you all the information.
Betsy Gentili, Chef Roberto Gautier, thank you. Wow. I'm Tim Johnson, and next time you see me, I'll have gone out for a pizza. Have a great day.